We say that? Sweet bro? Etana. Yeah.
Well, thank you, homeboy. Probably the nicest introduction I've had in any occasion. Bobby was a small little boy like this. He comes from where I come from Atteridgeville. So it's very great to see you, and you've done wonderful things. President of the Black Management Forum, Mr. Bonang Mohale, the Deputy President, your National Executive, distinguished members of this progressive formation, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm most grateful for this invitation to call to memory our departed brother, comrade and leader, Mr. Lot Ndlovu. It is a privilege to be here talking about him and his leadership. Every life is worth remembering, but not every legacy is worth memorializing in the public space. We do not pay tribute to people only because they've passed on, sad as it may be. We conjure up their memory so that we may live. For a life well lived poses cutting questions about our own life. As we marvel at it, we reinforce or alter our own convictions of what it is to be good. We find that rare room to interrogate the principles that should animate our individual lives and the broader social condition we find ourselves in. As we remember, we find time to contemplate where we are, where we could be in the public space. I want to start my tribute to Lord Ndlovu by relating to you a remarkable story told to me by our president, Jacob Zuma. Where's Bosch? Lalel, he would start. It was a few months ago. The story is about Nkosi Shark. The king's mother, the president relates, Queen Nandi, died. This was a big tragedy, not only to the king, but also to all his subjects. A period of mourning took hold of the Zulu people. Many cried out loudly, particularly in the presence of Nkosi Shark. As the days went by, the tears started to dry up. Many within the community learned that it would be helpful to induce tears. Women would place snuff under their eyelids. In that way, they could have tears on demand. The king ordered that during the period of mourning, none of his subjects may slaughter cattle, sheep or goats, and they may not go hunting for meat. No one was allowed to harvest the fields for grain. Starvation began to set in. Babies, children and adults alike began to starve as they continued to pretend that they were mourning. A thriving Zulu people began to be impoverished in many ways. Here, President Zuma paused for a while, looked at me, and continued to relate this remarkable story. One of the elder warriors, let's name him Sokulu, asked for audience with the king. Before the king, he knelt and said, "Bayete, wena wedlovu." You may have to put a spear through my heart once I've made my humble plea to you. Your people have been hurt by your mother's death. But, Nkosi, your people are now dying because they may not milk or slaughter their cattle. They may not slaughter their sheep. They may not hunt. They may not harvest their grain and have no food. Please, Nkosi, free them from this extended mourning. I fear to say you are king, but only if you have people to rule over. Should they all die, you will no longer be king by yet. Two of the king's trusted warriors leapt up with their assegais in hand to kill the elder warrior Sokulu for his unseemly disrespect for King Shaka. Nkosi Shaka took a deep breath and shouted, "Stop. It is you, my inner core warriors, who I should kill, and not the senior warrior Sokulu, who had the courage to tell me the truth. You often lied to me that my people wanted to mourn for my deceased mother forever. They wanted to mourn ceaselessly. You lied to me. You place a royal ring of honor on his head as the mark of my respect for Sokulu. I truly thank President Zuma for this remarkable tale, which he related to me with great gusto, drawn from our proud history. On that occasion, I assured the President that I would share this insightful story with my children and grandchildren that very night. And one day I'll find an occasion to share it with our citizens. And I've chosen to share it with you. To this story I will revert shortly. This month, and to be exact, on the 22nd of August, a year ago, Matuke Lot Ndlovu died at the age of 62. His rural beginnings were humble as he grew up in Krail, Bethel in Mpumalanga. He went to farm schools around Bethel for his education. The odds were stacked against this rural child. He nonetheless matriculated at the Seventh-day Adventist institution in the Eastern Cape, and remarkably, at the age of 19 years, in 1970. Great achievement in those days. It is difficult to imagine a young Lot Ndlovu working as a clerk at the Bantu Affairs Commissioner in Witbank in 1972. This is so because we know that he turned his back on his impoverished farm upbringing and began to take himself seriously. He was inspired by the teachings of Steve Bantu Biko, Onkgopotse Tiro, Bani Pitjana, and Harry Lwengenkulu. I met him during the 1970s. I had just come out of Robben Island. He had a yellow t-shirt on with an image of muscular black arms breaking chains apart, blossomed on his chest. He kept a large afro hairdo and wore bell bottoms. Well, yes, you see, you're nodding. He was young, gifted, and black, as Donny Hathaway will have us know. He was as far as those young black consciousness activists of the 1970s. We should thank that generation of black consciousness leaders for the incredible bravery and activism they displayed at a time when the African National Congress and the Pan-Africanist Congress were banned and many of its leaders were in prison or in exile. The only good thing we can say about his stay at the Bantu Affairs Commissioner was that he met you, Zanele Nkosi, whom later he married in 1976. You were blessed with 5 children, Vuyelwa, Tembeka, Tandeka, Zoleka, and Monde. Lord later studied business management at distinguished business schools, including UNISA, Northwestern University in the US. He later went to Harvard Business School. He also holds an honorary doctorate. So we may quite legitimately call him Dr. Lot Ndlovu. He graced many corporate boards, too many to mention. The most significant ones being when he served as Chief Executive Officer of People's Bank Limited, and later as Executive Director and Vice Chairman of the Nedbank Group. His leadership extended to many non-commercial boards, roles like the banking adjudicator, the business trust, the National Engagement of Ethics Development. He was a patron of the Midrand Graduate Institute and Mill Park Business School. Special to me was the 5 years that he served with me on the Commission for the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers from 2002 to 2008. For years, we together debated on the appropriate remuneration for the President, his cabinet, members of Parliament, judges, mayors, councillors. And he seemed to have enjoyed himself that he had this power over these powerful people. In all his life pursuits, the Black Management Forum stood out. Nearly 33 years of his life, from 1980 to 2013, he dedicated to the BMF, which was most propitiously formed in 1976, 2 years ahead of the Black Lawyers Association, which I was proud to be part of its formation. He was not only a founder member, but he also occupied various office bearer positions until he was later appointed as managing director and ultimately elected as president. His obsession with economic transformation led to the Affirmative Action Blueprint that evolved into the current Employment Equity Act. It was during his presidency when the BMF resolved that there should be a BEE commission to address the imbalance of apartheid and drive for inclusion of black people in the mainstream economy. That initiative culminated, as we all know, in the BBBEE Act, or Triple BEE Act, which is the policy of our country today. He was a founder member of the Black Business Council and became its first deputy president. He was indeed synonymous with the Black Management Forum and its avowed mission to lead transformation and change radically the lives of our people. When I was asked to speak to pay tribute to Lord Ndlovu, Sokulu, the seasoned warrior of President Jacob Zuma's narrative, came to my mind. Are we still together? Are we together? Yes. Okay. It seems to me that people who are bent on changing their world, changing their lives, and the lot of those around them require courage of principle. Courage of principle implies 3 fundamental and interconnected patterns of behavior. The one is vision. The other entails concrete steps to pursue and realize that vision. The third is preparedness to pay the price for a rigorous pursuit of the vision. For one thing, the primal starting point of individual or collective change, as I've just said, must be a vision. And the vision must be formulated and articulated. It is that internally coherent statement of principles that imagines idealized or desirable social, political, and cultural outcomes. In the context of a political or revolutionary movement, a vision may consist of only minimum demands, or indeed it may rise to the level of ideology, suitably supplemented by strategy and tactics. At different times in our long struggle, we have seen the movement of the people stake the claim for freedom, equality, and democracy. One of the earliest articulation of these values occurred in 1912 with the formation of the African National Congress. And thereafter they were consistently followed in a variety of charters, such as the Atlantic Charter, the Freedom Charter, the 10-point program of the Unity Movement, the Africanist Manifesto of the PAC, the Socialist Humanism of the Black Consciousness Movement. Even as a continent, we have adopted the African Charter of Humans and People's Rights. We have no shortage of statements of intent in our country and across our continent. Thus, a vision I want to suggest to you is that lodestar that lights up the way towards a just society. Our vision in our country today is uncomplicated. For starters, we have shut the door firmly on apartheid, on colonialism, on brutality, and on inequality. We have inducted a democracy. We have chosen to live by the rule of law, not mere rule by men and women. We are striving for an inclusive, prosperous economy. We have committed to look after our children, to teach them. We have undertaken to create access to housing, to healthcare, to social security for vulnerable people in our society. We have vowed to banish patriarchy and to treat women with equal worth and respect. We have made laws to achieve the equity at the workplace, to respect and cherish working people of this country. We have fashioned programs to transform unequal relations within the economy. We have undertaken to pursue special and land equity and passed laws to that end. We have chosen for ourselves an open and free society with vital freedoms within which we can individually and collectively fulfill our potential. We have envisioned and created vital institutions to protect our democracy. We want representatives of the people in Parliament must make good laws, hold the executive to account, and to deliberate on matters of national importance. We entrust the executive with a purse, with our money, our collective fiscus, and with a sword to implement laws and to pursue vital interests set up in our Constitution. As we do so, we do indeed expect the executive to treat the public purse only in a way authorized by law. We expect our courts to work to ensure that everyone acts within the remit of our vision as expressed in our laws. In all this, every public official conduct must be accountable, responsive, and transparent. That is our national vision in a few words. That is what we fought for, and that is what we have to establish. So on the three requirements, we have a vision, clear vision, laudable vision. We said next, we need concrete steps to make the vision real. Beyond the vision, concrete and credible steps are required to make it a reality. That much is true of all arms of the state. It is true of all individuals who have a personal vision. Courage of principle would require, therefore, that public servants to do what is to be done to pursue the vision. Much like other social activists who are expected to take practical steps to realize the vision, all public functionaries must show absolute fidelity to our collective covenant, our solemn pact to create a new society. I suggested at the beginning that the inevitable consequence of courage and principle must be willingness to bear the consequences. We are a proud democracy. In many respects, we have established an admirable state and a proud nation. We have, however, picked much of the low-lying fruit. Many intractable challenges still remain in our path to realize our vision as a proud people. I'm not going to go down the route of rehashing all the things we must do to accomplish our vision of a good society. Any one of you can do so, perhaps even more competently. Our people mention these just about every day on every radio show. Bob Mabena. Now, am I going to engage in the blaming game? Allow me to mention 3 significant threats to our democracy, and that should suffice. The first is an economy that is not growing at a pace and degree big enough to create new jobs and to diminish inequality, to truly free our people from economically oppressive past. We're not getting that right at all. Secondly, I want to suggest that we must do our damnedest to preserve vital institutions of our democracy. If we don't, it's a little like a man pulling down every pillar in his own home and hope that there will be a home left after that. We need an undivided and effective police and intelligence service. So too, we need a functional prosecuting arm in the National Director of Public Prosecutions. Parliament must remain the overarching site of public debate and executive accountability. Judges must judge. They must judge impartially and continue to do their work. They must remain on their post to ensure that vision translated to law is actually observed. Our Auditor General must audit those books because the money in the fiscus belongs to the people. The receiver of revenue must exact taxes efficiently and well so that we can fund the project to reimagine and recreate our society and truly free our people from their poverty. The public protector must do her work or his work. The Human Rights Commission must continue to probe, to check, and to interrogate. And all other watchdogs in our democracy must be nursed, must be loved, must be supported so that they may flourish. What remains is for me to look at an additional requirement, the willingness to bear the consequences. However, certainly all of us cannot now back off from our bounden duty to educate and train our young. We have to transmit to them the very best values of our long and heroic struggle. This is not the time to drop the ball. We must teach our young to be honest, to value and place integrity high up in their world scheme. We must teach our young people to be hardworking and to forget about instant gratification. Financial well-being is built over a lifetime, not through a few clever, dodgy tenders or deals. As a start, we should perhaps rethink the way in which we refer to our leaders in all spheres of government. We should perhaps stop calling them our rulers. We should perhaps, they are our servants. We cannot have, in that context, therefore, a ruling party. Perhaps we should have a serving party. In turn, the opposition parties themselves should get it in them that they compete for the privilege to serve and not to rule. They seek the right to serve us. Perhaps then our parties will attract a talent pool different to the one it attracts currently. Perhaps then our parties and representatives will be able to attract young people who are willing to serve, where vision and idealism precedes immediate gratification. We require people with the sole desire to give and not to take, to build and not to destroy. Those who seek to pursue excellence, particularly the young ones, and not to accept mediocrity. People who will listen and not talk unduly. We must therefore teach our youth that we have a vision. And Lot did just about that all his life. And it's not time now to be fuddled up by all sorts of sidetracks. We must keep that vision in sight and rally our people around it. We must garner the courage and the comfort to speak out and to act when the vision is betrayed. We must require public functionaries to pursue in truth, not in word, better life for all. The price we are to pay for social activism, a life which Lot lived through and through, is small indeed. Nothing comparable to the supreme price paid by many who have gone ahead of us. We must be truthful and rigorous in the pursuit of a more equal and just society. We're losing sight of this. We must have the courage to call it right, even in the most difficult circumstances. That too we're losing in favor of expediency. That is so because our collective vision is not open to debate. Its primacy is well settled by a long line of virtuous struggle. What is in deep doubt now is our commitment, not the worthiness of the vision and what our people truly and honestly deserve. And indeed, the vision that Maduge Lot Ndlovu lived for so gallantly. And my parting shot: when fear strikes, when you think you're going to lose favor, when you think you might just lose your job, you can do well to remember that great warrior, so cool, who dared to say, Nkosi Shaka, you might put a spear through my heart, but I feel obliged to tell you the truth. our people are dying. And lastly, keep in mind the wise response of Nkosi Shaka, who said, as President Zuma related to me, I will honor you because you have told me the truth. Thank you for listening. Good night and God bless.